But notice also another thing. And it's a verse that kind of seems out of place. Verse 8. Now Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, died and was buried under the oak of Bethel. Now Deborah, nurse of Rebekah. Who's Rebekah? Remember, Isaac and Rebekah was the parents of Jacob and Esau. And when Abraham sent his servant down to get a wife for Isaac, her parents gave her a nurse. And the story says her nurse went with her. Now, we didn't know what her name was until now. And she's died. And they bury her, and there's weeping. And she's an old woman. And she's a handmaid. She's a nurse. Now, what's going on here? Why is this story in here about Jacob's return to Bethel? I think it's because there was some unfinished business in Jacob's life. Unfinished business. His mother must have died, I think, while he was in those 20 years down there in getting his wives. And she died and he wasn't able to go to the funeral. And when he comes back after 20 years, 10 years he's wandered up around Shechem and hadn't come down to Bethel, then this nurse must have joined him. And she's been with him this time, and now then she's died. And so he has a funeral for her. And he weeps. But his weeping is more than just for his nurse, who, yes, I'm sure he cared a lot for. But I think it was entwined into his mother's death as well. And remember, he and his mother had connived. And so there was a total dysfunctional family that he grew up in. And all of those kind of things kind of come to a head. And for Jacob to be able to have some real breakthrough change, for him to be able to really get to going with God and become what God wanted him to be, and his name to become Israel, there had to be some dealing with his unfinished business. And the tears that he was expressing that day was not only grief for Deborah, but it was also for his mother, and it was also for the big mess that he'd created in his whole family. And the whole thing kind of came out, and he took care of some unfinished business. Grief and unresolved grief and feelings of life has a way of working their way to the top sometimes. And for real change to take place in some people's life this morning, there might need to be some unfinished business in your life. Need to grieve some things that you hadn't grieved. You hadn't admitted some things that's really the dynamics of your family that created the havoc you find yourself in today. And it's nothing wrong or bad about it. It's just you got to just get out of that little cloud of idealism of how you thought your family was and realize the dynamics that took place to be able to move forward in life. Off the top of my head, it's dangerous when you do that as a preacher, but I made the comment in the other service, hadn't planned to make it, but I'll make it here too, that when I married Jeannie, I thought my family was normal. And I thought her family was abnormal. I thought our family was real spiritual giants in life. And what I found out was her family was normal and spiritual, and my family was totally dysfunctional. I mean, you put us on a scale, and we were off on the other end somewhere. And there comes a time when you have to really look at that thing and see, you know, there's some unfinished business here I need to take care of. There's some grieving I need to take care of about the losses that I've had in life and the reality of how things are before you can move on and really become at peace with your past. Now, I believe counseling has its place, but I think most of us can make peace with our past pretty quick. It don't take a whole lot. All it takes is admitting it and being aware of it and telling God about it and laying it out before Him and saying, I can't do nothing about it, and there it is, and God, you'll have to take it and make something out of it. And He can do that. And we take care of unfinished business.